Mellow greetings, Tubians, Ronan T here, and let's fanfic Story of Seasons Friends of Mineral Town. Winter 9, Year 1, Sunday. Sunny. Today started ordinary. I like that. I like ordinary. I got up, I took care of all the critters. I'm not going to list out all the critters again, because I've done it so many times now that saying it all over again would be utterly redundant. You know who they are. You've watched them grow up as much as I have, Journal. Kind of fun, though. Mugu is due in about 16 days, so we will have a new critter to talk about soon. That'll be fantastic. After that, I spent some time practicing with Rayan, practicing our riding, because we do very much want to enter the Spring Derby, and yeah, I'd really, really like to win if at all possible. And I'd rather not have our first public racing event marred by me falling off him in the middle of the track, because that would embarrass Rayan and me, but mostly that would embarrass Rayan. And we can't have that. An embarrassed horsey is really hard to deal with. So we rode around the fields just up and down for a while, and I think we really got our pace together, and I think I need to work out where the heck I can get a saddle, because my goddess is my butt bruised. After that, I ran into town. I visited around a few people, mostly just killing time waiting for the smithy to open. When the smithy opened, I went and collected my shiny, shiny new golden axe. Oh, it's gorgeous, Journal. And it just chops through wood like butter. I don't know why you would ever use an axe to chop butter. Now that I think about it, I've never actually chopped butter before. I've more smeared it, I guess, would be the best way to say it. It's more of a smoosh than a chop. I'm sure there's somebody out there who chops up butter. There's someone everywhere that does everything when you get right down to it. After that, I did my rounds. I butterflied as hard as my little wings could carry me. I said hi to everybody. I stopped in and saw Marie. I saw Potpourri. I saw Rick. I ran into Jennifer in the woods. That was always fun. I think I've only ever seen her indoors in one place, and that's at Poultry Farm. That's a little bit weird now that I think about it. I've never actually even seen her in the tent that she apparently lives in. She is a strange one. Very odd. I ducked into the inn and I saw Lou again. I'm not sure if you remember. She dropped by a couple of weeks ago and told me that she'd be here every Sunday to pick up supplies. She taught me how to make wild grape water. I'm not certain what that's supposed to be. I'll have to give it a shot at some point. It does sound like a bit of a fun recipe, but... And then I swung up and I said hi to Ellie. I gave her her flower because Ellie likes flowers. And I said hi to Doc and I gave him some fresh milk because he's been worried about broken bones a lot lately. Maybe he's studying something along those lines. I really don't know. And then I stopped in to see Cliff. He was asleep when I got there, the poor thing. He's just worked himself to the bone, and that's way too much. It is way too much. But I returned to him the photo that he dropped when he passed out, and he seemed grateful. He told me the story of it. It's a picture of his mum and his baby sister. And apparently he left town when he was younger because he just didn't like small town living, so he left. And when he came back years later, his mum had passed away and his sister was gone. And he doesn't know where she is. Apparently it's part of why he wanted to stop in Mineral Town, because it reminds him of that town that he grew up in, that place he used to call home. And I think that's really cool, but also a little bit sad. And is he trying to make amends for what happened in the past, or is it just the different but familiar comfort of a home that he never realised he loved? Or perhaps he realised it a bit too late. does explain a lot about his work ethic, though. It explains why he drives himself as hard as he does. Hopefully, when Doc lets him out of the clinic, we can sit down and talk about it a little more, and maybe there's something I can do there. I don't know. I really don't know. After seeing Cliff, and on a much somber note, well, after seeing Cliff on that somber note, that's how I should say that, journal, I went and ran around the mountain, did my usual foraging, made my offering, stopped in the spring for a while, as one does. We liked the spring. Lazed around for a few hours until I felt better, went home, pulled out my shiny axe, and I don't know how Saibara does it. I remember enough metallurgy from when I was in school to know that gold is a soft metal. And jewelry grade gold you can put dents in with your fingernails if you get it on the right angle. How in the heck did he make a sharp, sturdy blade from gold? It's got to be some sort of super secret smithing alloy that I'm not aware of, or something like that, because these stumps should just be denting it entirely out of shape, not collapsing under its awesome force. It's an oddity. But collapse under its awesome force they did. I spent many hours breaking up stumps. Oh, I don't think I mentioned I did also spend some time in the mines today. Didn't get down very far. But I did do that. Got some more resources together, as one does, and that's basically been my day, journal. It was a good one. Smooth. No major explosions. Just living and living. Alright, it's going to be sunny again tomorrow, journal, and I'm going to head to bed because it may have been a simple day, but I did a lot and am sleepy. Good night, journal. Winter 10, Year 1, Monday. Sunny. Well, today was a cunning fellow, journal of my heart. Started off ordinarily enough. Tended the critters. Tended some more critters. Made sure everybody was fed and patted and brushed and shorn and milked and egged and whatever. You know the drill. You've heard this way too many times now, and I really need to stop repeating myself, but writing that down is as much a habit as actually tending to the critters, so I kind of need to balance that out. After that, I spent time clearing boulders. I decided to try out that wild grape water recipe that Lou showed me yesterday. It's fairly easy to make, but I'm a little short on some of the supplies, so I'm probably going to go light on it. After that, there was an orgy of cooking. I created many recipes. I made sure that I had plenty of food in my bag. Because, well, by this stage, you know what that means. You know there's only one place I go with a backpack full of food. And that is the place where time stands still. Which I realize now is a really poor description, because that's anywhere I go that's not outside. I did stop and chop up some stumps on the way, and I stopped in to see Mr. Gotts, because I wanted to check what the requirements were for the renovations that I'm planning to do, because I want to see how well I'm tracking against those goals, how much more wood and stone I need, etc. So I went in, checked in with him, and on the way out, I may have accidentally ended up eavesdropping on a moment between Karen and Rick, and that was kind of, well, it was a moment between Karen and Rick, and Rick was trying to walk them down memory lane, and clearly he was going for a sweet, gentle moment where it's, do you remember when? Do you remember when we used to do all these things? We had all this fun, and we were so carefree and happy. And then he brought up wrestling and the fact that Karen always beat him. She didn't like that. I don't know if she was embarrassed by the fact that she used to beat him, or if she really thought that he was trying to insult her or fib to her or something like that, but it it did not end well for Rick. He looked a little lost and confused after she walked off, and well, honestly, I was blushing on his behalf. Now, I'll own, after our most recent interaction, Rick is not my favourite person. I think we can agree on that one, Journal. Rick, not my favourite people. But nobody deserves that. And I don't know that either of them knew that I was there, but I really hope they didn't realise, because he'll never stop blushing if he does. Dear Dad, I think there may be some stuff you didn't teach me about women, and it's really starting to come back to haunt me.
It's chill today. Winter does that, I know. But instead of just meeting up to vent at the chair near the store, Rick and I decided to go for a bit of a walk. Nothing here is ever truly new, but sometimes it is really nice to change it up a bit, you know?
I ran into Karen on one of her walks again. It seemed like a really nice day for it, too. It's been snowy since the first day of winter, like always, so there was a perfect white blanket on the ground. But the actual snow stopped a few days ago.
I love the woods by Gott's place in the winter. No bugs, cute little animals, and the crisp sound of the snow beneath my feet. Rick is looking a little rosy-cheeked from the cold, which makes him look younger again, less worn than normal.
I didn't have too much to do that day, so I asked if I could join her for part of the journey. She was fine with it, so we started off just talking about whatever came into our heads.
I'm always so tempted to reach for his hand when we do take a walk. The idea just feels natural somehow, like the goddess meant for us to walk together, which is a load of crap and a sure sign that Marie has been lending me too many romance novels again. It's not like there is much else to do around here, unless you work, which Dad won't let me do.
We started talking about when we were kids and the games we used to play. We talked about our old favourites like tag and hide and seek. She was nice enough not to mention how often she beat me, but I remember.
The games we used to play here, tag and hide and seek, before hormones and missing parents and controlling jerks and all the fun that adult life brings with it. Why don't we ever play anymore? Run through the trees and hide in the snowdrifts.
Then I made my fatal mistake. I mentioned how we used to roughhouse, and how she could fling me around like a sack of chicken feed. Apparently, that wasn't something she remembered.
We used to wrestle too. Rick would never let Potpourri join in for fear that the boys were too strong, but the rest of us would roll around to try and tickle each other or pin one another down. So much laughter and happiness. Simple games for simple times.
Karen started to get really angry and insisted that nothing like that had happened. I really don't get why. You'd think it'd be a compliment to tell a girl how she could sweep the floor with all the boys.
And just like that, a beautiful moment ruined by the misguided memories of an errant egg wrangler. How dare he? I never won when we wrestled, and I sure as blazes didn't crow about it. I was a lady, even then. Ugh! That feathered, feckless fiend knows how to ruin everything. Why do I even...
Anyway, Dad, she took it personally and marched off. I don't get it. That was her, right? Not one of the other kids that used to play with us. I remember there was this one other girl I hung out with a lot. Did did I get her and Karen confused? That couldn't be it, right?
I had to leave. Else I would have dumped an armload of snow in his pants. Like I remember seeing done to him when we were kids. I just wanted a quiet walk with a friend before facing another day of forcing smiles for mum and dad and pretending the store isn't going to crash and burn. Ugh. It seems that it's just too much to ask for some people. Good fun.
After that, I decided to head up the mountain, and obviously that was my goal all along. And then I ran into Jennifer. And Jennifer was having a bit of a moment. She was there gazing out over the frozen lake and was for some reason really incensed. And I mean genuinely, she was sparking mad about the fact that the lake doesn't have a name. Now, for me, coming from Jennifer, that sounds a bit weird. And she's all about the flavor of nature and Mother Nature and the energies of the mountain and the love of crystals and all of that sort of thing. And nature doesn't name itself. Nature doesn't need to aggrandize itself by giving itself names and placing things on maps. That's decidedly man's attempts to control nature, to tame it. If it has a name, you can order it about. And have you ever tried to tell a dog to sit when the dog doesn't have a name? It just sort of looks at you. In the end, I told her that, we needed a name that was angelic, and that seemed to suit her a bit. And she decided she was going to call the lake Isabella. Kind of an odd one in my brain, Lake Isabella. Isabella of the Lake. Yeah. She's strange. And I like her well enough and all, but she's weird. But it gets worse from there. She doesn't want us to tell anybody the name of the lake. So we had this whole big thing about how the lake has to have a name. But we're not going to tell anybody, it's just going to be our secret. I am confused, and honestly at this point I think I know how Rick felt. That was just weird. After all of that, I was really looking forward to banging some rocks together. Alright, I have to admit it. This has been bothering me for weeks. I have set up my camp next to possibly the single most beautiful lake I have ever seen. Its waters are pristine and teeming with life. I can sense it. There is something. Maybe even an expression of Mother Earth herself living in that lake. It is just fantastic. And these disconnected yokels have never named it. What sort of injustice is that? Something this majestic, this expressive, this gorgeous. It needs a name. It needs an expression of that beauty, of that connection, of that divinity. I was pondering this when very luckily Brenna chanced upon me. I must have been muttering to myself out loud a bit because she ended up asking me about it, and she is surprisingly spiritual. And most people around town, their eyes glaze over and roll back, except for Brenna and Officer Harris. He's always willing to listen, but I'm never sure if he quite takes in the meaning of the words, And of course, Basil is always arguing science over reality. But Brenna gets it. I wonder, maybe it's because she's a farmer, maybe working the land has given her a deeper connection to it. Maybe she somehow shaping energy to create life in the form of her crops and taking care of her animals. And I told her about the dilemma with the lake. I told her that it had no name, and she actually stopped and pondered that. She thought about it. And in the end, she inspired me. So we have together named the lake Isabella. There's no need to tell anyone else in the village this. It doesn't need to be in the mouths of men, just to know its own identity and to know that that identity has been seen by someone, I feel, is enough for it. Now I just need to work out the mystery of Brenna. How she sees the flows. So I jumped in the hot springs for a while, loosen up the muscles after clearing boulders on the farm. And then it was down the mines, and it was down the mines, and it was down the mines, and it was down the mines. I think I made it to the 12th floor. I was carrying a lot of food. I started picking up minerals I have never seen before. I've picked up some mithril. I've picked up some orichalcum. Got a bit more gold together, which is good. Still rarer than some of the other stuff I'm finding. It was a good expedition. It was a long expedition, and my shoulders are on fire forever. But yeah, made it to level 12. Feeling pretty proud about that. Got out of there when I just had no more space to carry anything and I wasn't sure I could lift a hammer, let alone swing it. Jumped in the hot springs for a while again just to take the edge off. I think I'm getting addicted to them. Not sure if that's a good thing or not. Should probably work on that. Ran home, tossed the junk ore, sold one of everything that I found because, it's good to have it on file how much it's worth if I get desperate for cash. So I've got a bit of a record now of, what's a lump of bronze ore going to do for me? What's a lump of silver ore going to be? It may not be much, but it may make the difference between life and death one of these days. And then I put everything away, and you know what, Journal? I am ragged. I know it's early. I know it's only like 4 o'clock. But I have put in a very, very, very full day. We've had emotional turmoil, we've had moments of confusion, we have murdered 12 floors worth of rocks, and tomorrow it will be as if I was never there. I'm going to bed. It's going to be snowing tomorrow. I need my sleep. Good night, Journal.